Trump has repeatedly stated that energy global warming is a fake issue, and the United States will not continue to support the development of electric vehicles and will increase the mining of traditional energy to ensure that the United States has enough energy. Although his ally Musk's Tesla car has lost subsidies, the U.S. government's ban on Chinese electric vehicles from entering the United States is equivalent to providing Musk with a monopoly market. The increase in energy supply, especially the increase in electricity supply, will greatly benefit the development of the AI industry, and Musk's xAI will also benefit from it. Not long ago, xAI announced that it used 100,000 NVIDIA H100 chips to train the Grok 3 large model, making its performance surpass competitors such as GPT and DeepSeek. The media also reported that xAI doubled the computing power of the computing center in a short time. That is, it reached the terrifying record of 200,000 NVIDIA H100 chips. Such a supercomputing center has very high requirements for electricity. The United States lags far behind China in green energy sources such as solar energy and wind energy, so Trump's tearing up the global climate change agreement actually has far-reaching economic considerations. Then the most embarrassing is Europe. Because Europe is not only urgently promoting environmental protection, but also all countries have strengthened the promotion of green energy through legislation, eliminating traditional power generation methods such as nuclear power and thermal power. The Green Party in many European countries has considerable influence and can often influence government decisions. Moreover, Europeans generally receive strict environmental education and take global warming and other issues seriously. Take Germany as an example. After the outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian war, energy prices soared, which severely impacted Germany's manufacturing industry. However, Germany still has not given up its persistence in green energy. It has not yet resumed nuclear power and increased investment in thermal power. This is not because the German government is stupid and cannot see the serious harm of high electricity prices to the manufacturing industry, but because they dare not go against public opinion. The public's belief in green energy is precisely the result of politicians' long-term propaganda. Interestingly, U.S. officials have publicly stated that global warming is nothing more than a deception by European countries to developing countries, with the aim of restricting the industrialization of developing countries, upgrading the industrial chain, and endangering their interests. I agree with this view very much, because I mentioned in the previous video that academician Deng Zhongli of China pointed out many years ago that global warming and reducing carbon emissions are traps set by Western countries for developing China. He also said that he is a geologist. Judging from the research results of his decades of academic career, the impact of human activities on the Earth's climate change is not worth mentioning. There are many periods in the history of the Earth that are much warmer or colder than now, and life still continues. The Earth does not need human protection, but humans themselves need to be protected. Even if all life is extinct, the Earth is still the Earth. However, academician Deng Zhongli also pointed out that although China has seen the conspiracy of Western countries, it is willing to follow the global consensus and reduce carbon emissions with greater efforts than developed countries to promote the development of green energy. Even if Western countries sign an agreement, they will definitely not implement it in place in the end and will find various reasons to delay. But China will formulate a green energy plan and will firmly implement it. Because this plan is conducive to protecting China's environment and improving the quality of life of 1.4 billion people. Time flies. Now, when we look back at the interview video many years ago, we have to admire the foresight of Chinese scientists. China's investment in environmental protection and green energy has indeed produced huge positive effects. China has gone from being the most polluted country in the world to becoming green and livable today, with significant improvements in urban infrastructure and air quality. The recently popular China travel has benefited from the significant improvement in the environment. If YouTube and TikTok bloggers face smog and stench like India after visiting China, will they still give China a thumbs up? China's solar energy, electric vehicles, power batteries, and other industries have also developed over a decade with the firm support of policies and then dominated the global market. This situation is something that Europeans never expected. Now that the Americans have withdrawn from the group, Europeans are in a dilemma. If they also make a sharp turn in policy, their credibility will suffer a serious crisis. If developing countries around the world do not comply with the climate agreement, their industrial development will definitely be more competitive than Europe. If they insist on the current environmental protection route, Europe will have to face the embarrassing situation of not being able to compete with China in industry, which can be said to be self-defeating. If opposing high-emission power generation methods such as thermal power can be understood in terms of environmental protection, then opposing nuclear power is absolutely stupid behavior. As we all know, nuclear power is the ultimate answer to human energy. The mature fission reactors that are now in operation have various risks, but they are constantly developing and improving. Both China and the United States have commercialized small nuclear reactors, which will become the most stable and relatively environmentally friendly way of power supply in the foreseeable future. With the miniaturization of reactors and the further maturity of safety technology, it is very likely that there will be a situation in the future where one factory and one community will be equipped with a small nuclear power plant, which will greatly reduce transmission losses, make factory site selection more flexible, and save a lot of costs. In fact, the fusion reaction device tokamak, which has been continuously breaking through in Europe and China recently, is difficult to commercialize in the short term. Even if it is commercialized, China will be the first to achieve it. The technological revolution represented by AI and robots has begun to accelerate. Europe may not wait until the day when fusion technology matures and will be marginalized and reduced to a second-rate force. But I believe that this is the punishment that Europeans deserve. Because the United States is an open rogue, it chooses to abide by and maintain the international order when it is beneficial to itself and beats up countries that violate the order. When the international order is not in its favor, it immediately chooses to destroy the order and safeguard American interests. But the badness of the United States is written on its face. It is not as insidious as Europe. We can imagine that decades ago, when computing power was very backward, Europeans could simulate and infer that global warming was caused by human carbon dioxide emissions with just one computer. Isn't this a joke? What they considered at the time was nothing more than wanting to suppress the industries of developing countries through environmental labels to prevent them from industrializing rapidly. What they didn't expect was that China not only quickly became the world's first industrial power, but also surpassed Europe in technology, and took the environmental moral commanding heights on which they depended for survival into the hands of developing countries. This is really a great irony. Here, I want to say that the harm of hypocrites is far more terrible than that of real villains. For example, today's Trump is a typical villain. He made Ukraine surrender to Russia and had to use minerals to repay the US aid funds. But the so-called leaders in Europe are performing everywhere. Officials from France, Germany, and the United Kingdom have continuously stated that they want to establish a European army to help Ukraine fight against Russia. Zelensky may have drunk too much fake wine and actually believed it. I think anyone with a normal brain knows that these European hypocrites only write empty checks. If there is no support from the United States and NATO does not protect them, they would have been beaten by the Russians long ago. If they really support Ukraine, the war has been going on for 3 years. Where is their army? From this perspective, I admire Trump. I support him slapping the Europeans in the face, waking up these hypocrites, and letting them know who is the master of the world. When they plot against developing countries in the future, they'd better consider whether they are sitting at the table or whether they will also be put on the menu.